This is a heart-wrenching story of love, courage, and resilience. Lena ventures into a terrifying colony in Shiloh to rescue her lover, Daniel. This colony, under the guise of a religious sect, captures and exploits women. As Lena uncovers the harrowing truths of the colony, she uses her intelligence and bravery to escape this nightmarish trap. This story is a powerful testament to the fight against oppression, the strength of love, and the battle for justice. The story begins in 1973, during a period of intense political turmoil in Chile. The government is unstable, and the U.S. is determined to overthrow President Salvador Allende. However, thousands of Chileans stand in support of their leader, sparking widespread protest. Amid this chaos, we are introduced to Lena, a German flight attendant. Lena is returning from a flight with her pilot and colleagues when she spots her boyfriend, Daniel, among the demonstrators rallying for President Allende. She tells her colleagues that she will reunite with them in 4 days and goes home with Daniel. Their house is filled with posters of Allende, as Daniel secretly helps the resistance by printing materials in opposition to the coup. Though both are German, they have built a life together in Shiloh. The next morning, Daniel receives a distressing call from his associates. Alarmed, he informs Lena that Augusto Pinochet, who seeks to seize power, has taken control of Chile. His army is rounding up and executing Allende supporters. Realizing the danger, Lena and Daniel attempt to flee, but the streets are in chaos. Soldiers loyal to Pinochet are arresting and killing demonstrators. As Daniel discreetly captures the unfolding horrors on his camera, an officer notices him. Both Lena and Daniel are arrested. They are taken to a detention camp filled with other prisoners. Soon, the soldiers bring in a masked informer who identifies Allende supporters in the lineup. Those recognized are executed on the spot. When the masked man reaches Daniel, he exposes him as the creator of the resistance posters. However, instead of killing him, the soldiers take Daniel away to an unknown location. The next morning, Lena and the other detainees are unexpectedly released. Desperate to find Daniel, Lena turns to his allies, the group he had worked with. They inform her that Daniel was taken away in an ambulance and has likely been sent to Colonia Dignidad, a secretive and ominous place from which no one ever returns. Pinochet's police send prisoners there, sealing their fate. Lena pleads for their help in rescuing Daniel, but they refuse. This fight isn't about saving one man, they tell her. We have bigger battles to fight, and now, we must disappear before we're captured too. Determined and undeterred, Lena resolves to find Daniel on her own. At the same time, Daniel is shown being brutally tortured. He is electrocuted, causing him to lose consciousness. Meanwhile, Lena meets a man to learn more about Colonia. The man tells her that entering the place is easy, but leaving it is impossible. Determined, Lena disguises herself as a nun and infiltrates Colonia. An old woman welcomes her and leads her inside, where the place resembles a horrific prison. The woman directs Lena to a room where Paul Schaeffer is waiting. He asks why she has come. Lena responds, I want to dedicate my life to God, and I know that you are a Holy Spirit. You are like God. Although Paul is initially suspicious, Lena manipulates him with her words, convincing him of her sincerity. The old woman then takes Lena to a dormitory filled with beds. Soon other girls arrive, and each is given a tablet to consume, though no one knows why. Within Colonia, men, women, and children live separately, only gathering on special occasions. The next morning, Lena is assigned to work in the potato fields. That night, a man dies, prompting Paul to summon all men and women to a hall, where he claims to communicate with the man's soul. The crowd believes him, but Lena knows he is deceiving them. Meanwhile, Daniel is shown working in a factory. His mental state has deteriorated so much that he no longer remembers who he is. He is given a new name, Hans, ensuring he never regains his true identity. One night, while Lena and the other girls are sleeping, the old woman in charge selects one of them and takes her away. Suspicious, Lena secretly follows and watches through a window. Inside, the girl sits before a group of men. She wishes to marry a man she met 3 years ago, but when Paul learns of this, he summons the man and tells him, there is an evil spirit inside her. You must punish her. Despite his reluctance, the man is forced to kill the woman he loves. Paul then orders the rest of the crowd to participate in punishing her. Lena watches in horror from the window. She also notices Daniel behaving strangely, realizing his mind is severely damaged. Just then, a man spots her. Before Paul can see her, Lena quickly flees back to her room and pretends to sleep. Paul arrives and finds all the girls asleep. In a fit of rage, brutally kills the woman in charge. Though he isn't certain, he suspects that the girl he saw earlier was Lena. The following night, another gathering takes place similar to the previous one. This time, Lena is forced to sit before everyone. Paul announces that an evil spirit possesses her. He then attacks Lena and commands the crowd to join him in killing her. Meanwhile, Daniel is revealed to be completely sane. He was merely pretending to be insane. Now, armed with a flashlight, he attempts to escape. However, his foot accidentally hits a wire, triggering a loud siren. The man in the hall, who was about to kill Lena, along with others, rushes outside. Daniel tries to climb over the iron fence, but as soon as he touches it, a powerful electric shock surges through him, rendering him unconscious. Seeing this, everyone assumes that Daniel is mentally unstable and must have wandered into the Colonia by mistake. By now, Lena has been trapped in the Colonia for over 4 months. Paul not only tortures the residents but also exploits young children. A few days later, some guests arrive at the colonia. Whenever outsiders visit, both men and women come together to greet them, putting on a facade of happiness and harmony to create the illusion that life here is perfect. For the first time since their separation, Daniel catches sight of Lena. As soon as he sees her, he reaches out and holds her hand. Lena quietly tells him that she has been assigned to the potato warehouse tonight and that he can find her there. Later, when Daniel's supervisor is assigning duties, Daniel volunteers to take the guard duty. That night, he sneaks into the potato warehouse, where Lena is waiting. Daniel immediately apologizes, believing that Lena is trapped here because of the photos she took that day. But Lena reassures him. She was released but chose to return solely for him. As they talk, Daniel's foot suddenly steps on something hollow. Upon closer inspection, he discovers a hidden cellar. When he climbs inside, he finds a long tunnel stretching before him. As he cautiously moves forward, Lena unexpectedly emerges from behind and calls out to him. Before Daniel can react, she shuts the basement lid from above. Moments later, Lena's supervisor arrives and takes her away. Meanwhile, Daniel continues through the tunnel and eventually stumbles upon the very room where he was previously electrocuted. The sight of it sends a wave of distress through him. The next day, Daniel undergoes medical tests. A nurse, who also happens to be close to Lena, is present. As she picks up Daniel's clothes, something falls out. A small photo of Daniel and Lena. Attached to it is a cross, the same one Lena had given him. Instantly, the nurse realizes that they are connected, and that Lena came to the colonia for him. Lena and Daniel meet again in the potato warehouse. Daniel tells Lena, "These tunnels stretch far and wide. I even found a gate here, but it's completely locked. I'm sure it's the way out of Colonia. We have to escape tonight. Once my medical report comes in, they'll kill me with poisonous gas." He then shows Lena a camera he found at work and says, "I took pictures of the torture room and the tunnel inside." Just then, they hear the sound of a car approaching. Lena realizes their in-charge has arrived. She quickly hides Daniel in the basement. As she does, she notices that one of Daniel's photos has fallen on the floor, so she covers it with a bucket. The in-charge and nurse, who already suspects that Lena and Daniel are together, enter the warehouse. The nurse was assigned to peel potatoes today, but forgot her knife, so her in-charge, who is also her mother, goes back to retrieve it. Taking the opportunity, the nurse confronts Lena. "I know you and Daniel are together. I found Daniel's locket with a photo of both of you. That's why you're really here, isn't it? If anyone finds out, both of you will be killed." Then, in a hushed voice, she confesses, "I'm pregnant. The father was a patient at the hospital, but he's gone now. If they find out I'm carrying his child, they'll kill me and my baby." Before Lena can respond, their in-charge returns. She orders Lena to sit so they can't continue talking. As she picks up the bucket, she notices a photo lying underneath it. Lena is then brought in front of Paul, who asked about the photo. Lena denies it, saying, "This photo isn't mine." Just as Paul is about to take action, Daniel steps in and claims, "This photo is mine." Paul demands to know where Daniel found it. Daniel leads him to the factory where he works. Inside, Daniel shows Paul the photo in a register, revealing it's from a tunnel. The factory in charge is then confronted but denies knowing anything about the photo. Since Daniel's mental condition has been a point of doubt for others, Paul isn't immediately suspicious. He assures that an investigation will follow and sends Lena back with her in charge. As Lena is being escorted back, she notices Daniel hiding nearby. Seizing the opportunity, she strikes her in charge with a stick, knocking her unconscious. Lena then rushes to the potato warehouse with Daniel, where a nurse is present. Lena urges the nurse to join them, saying, "Come with us, we'll escape together." Together, the three of them enter the tunnel. Meanwhile, in Colonia, everyone learns that Lena and Daniel have escaped, and a search is launched. Back in the tunnel, Lena, Daniel, and the nurse manage to unlock a door and proceed. The path ahead appears to be blocked by water, but Daniel bravely wades through it and discovers a way forward. The trio navigates the water and, after some time, finally emerges from a door. They are free from Colonia at last. The nurse, stepping out of the high walls of the Colonia for the first time in her life, is filled with happiness, but as she moves forward, her leg accidentally brushes against a wire, triggering a trap. The next moment, a bullet is fired automatically, and she is fatally shot. Meanwhile, Lena and Daniel leave the area and make their way to the road. They hitch a ride with a truck, heading to the German embassy. Once there, they present photographs showing the torture rooms within the Colonia and the tunnels beneath it. A German officer looks at the images and says, "With these photographs, we can take action against them." Just then, a woman arrives and hands Lena and Daniel clothes and passports. She informs them that they won't be able to get a flight today. The next available flight is a week away, but both know they can't afford to wait that long. Lena suddenly remembers that today is Wednesday, and the flight leaving today is one her friend is on. She calls her friend, who arranges for both of them to be on the flight. They are taken to the airport, but instead of entering through the main gate, they are guided through an underground path, as their lives are now in danger. At the airport, they're escorted to an office and told that they'll be seated on the plane once it's ready for takeoff. From the office, Lena sees that Paul has also arrived, along with the German embassy officer who has been following them. Lena tries to open the door, but it's locked from the outside. Soon, Paul and his team enter the room, but by then, Lena and Daniel have managed to escape, tying a cloth to the window and slipping away unnoticed. They run straight towards the runway, where the flight is about to take off. The flight door is closed, but when the pilot sees his friend Lena, he opens the door and lets both Lena and Daniel board the plane. However, just before taking off, the pilot receives orders that the flight has been cancelled. He informs Lena about this, but she urgently replies, "If we don't leave now, they'll kill us." Meanwhile, Paul and his men are seen standing outside the plane, waiting for Lena and Daniel. Now, with the pilot under Lena and Daniel's control, he decides to take action to save his friends' lives by taking off. Paul, standing helplessly like a fool, watches as Lena and Daniel narrowly escape. Brothers and sisters, this is a true story. In Chile, the police ran a prison where hundreds of people were murdered and buried. Over the course of 40 years, only 5 people managed to escape. Although Daniel and Lena published photos of the atrocities internationally, it didn't make a difference in Chile at the time. However, after the end of Augusto Pinochet's rule, a search began to arrest Paul. In 2004, he was captured in Argentina, sentenced to 33 years for his crimes, and died in prison in 2010. This was the painful true story of Colonia. The story teaches us that blindly following or being manipulated by others can turn your life into a living hell. It serves as a warning to the youth. Without independent thinking and confidence, you can easily fall prey to exploitation. Only the battle of courage and truth against injustice can set you free.